I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority, honestly.
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?
Peace, family. It's so nice to, just have just wake up for another day. I want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. You guys have, was here early. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Waiting on us, and we had some little technical difficulties. We're gonna have an interesting show tonight. We're just gonna roll with it. I want to give a special shout out to DM, Black Ace, Sajada, Conrad, Son of Light. Thank you guys for all coming through. Dwayne T, Redfell. You know what? And this is, I don't know why I try to do this every single time. Peace, Christopher. Let me just put these glasses on. Oh, wow. Look at that. Craig Samuels from the D. I want to say shout out to everybody. And there's Leo from Houston. So let's just, get started with some of our regular, I'm so sorry. Let's get started with some of our just regular announcements. So for those that don't know, we here at the HAPI team over here, we have HAPI Talks, but we also have a whole documentary. Okay, the documentary is 2 hours and 12 minutes. And we have started a HAPI tour, okay? So far, we've been in the great city of Detroit, my hometown, and that kicked off our tour. It was beautiful. A lot of people came through. Some on the chat was actually in the house, so that was really nice to see you guys, close enough and personal. So the next place we're going to be heading to is Philly, and we're heading to Philly on the 30th of this month. Now, we have been lucky enough to have the pleasure to hang out with Brother Shamari. He's had us on his radio show and Facebook page on live. He's going to, feature a couple of us that's going to be on the panel discussion after the screening in Philly. We'll be on his show, which is HURD. It's the only Philadelphia station that is all Black owned. So that's really nice to be, on that place, just giving interviews. And we had, we were on one of the shows, and we had Dr. J on Sunday, which was really nice. And so I say all that to say this, we're going to be out in Philly, and we hope that all you Philly cats are there in the house representing the space that we have is limited seating. So if you're going to get tickets, head to hapifilm.com right now. And I'm going to put this up in the comment section, on a banner. Head over to hapifilm.com and get your tickets. Also, while you're there, there's lots of stuff you can do. Now, if you want to come to a screening and you want to be, have like a nice T-shirt on, or have a movie poster, you want one of the panelists to sign it, because on this panel we're going to have Jabari Ozazi, Mfudishi Juhutimis, and Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and myself. And so it's going to be a nice panel discussion after the screening. But when you go to hapifilm.com, you can also pick up one of these nice Nubia t-shirts. We have a bunch of t-shirts. We have HAPI t-shirts, Nubia t-shirts. We have some vintage t-shirts that from the past. So it's really important, that you guys go to that hapifilm.com and get some merchandise. It helps us to be able to employ other people that look like us, and also to get the brand out there. The other piece, when you go to hapifilm.com, you can also sign up for the newsletter. All right. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out, and it's filled with all different types of articles. So we always give homage to an economic innovator, somebody from the past who has laid the foundation for us to be where we are right now. We give some one-on-one financial news or tips. and we are working with the Appeal Credit Union, and we have Mr. Douglas Booth over there who writes this really detailed article concerning all different types of stuff. So it's really important for us to stay financially in the know when it comes to our money. And we also do a health article. We have Ellison Nidra that will she gives a really nice just kind of not a twist on something old, but just information. Good, really nice, information about health. And then we also always give a happy update. And then we also showcase, a Black business. We do this every Friday on our social media, but our newsletter is where we kind of really, get into not only just one, but maybe sometimes like a group of Black businesses. So it's important for you guys to sign up for that hapifilm.com. And also we, from time to time send out emails concerning like if we're going to have a special Happy Talks person or just something that's really good that's coming and we want to like let you guys know first. We always, we use that same mailing list to do that. So, and the other piece is that if you don't live in Philly, okay, and you want to see this film that is filled with 30 scholars, okay, these are the brightest minds out there in this film, and you are not going to be, like in the Philly area, you can get a DVD copy or you can stream it. So it's, important for you to go to Happy Film. You can do a whole bunch of stuff there. Also, we are, and, it's interesting because one of our favorite guests, and who is a HAPI cast member, Professor Small, he is also going to be joining us on the One Africa Returning to the Source study tour and conference right there. It's going to be Professor Small and a host of other esteemed scholars. We have Dr. Wade Nobles and his wife, Dr. Vera Nobles, that will be presenting. We have Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Solange Ashby, Asar Imhotep, Infudishi Jehutimus, and Dr. Baina Bello. It is going to be fabulous. We're going to be in Aswan, Egypt, in February. Those are the dates, February 20th through the 28th. And it's a 2-day conference. And we're going to have Anthony Browder. We are working alongside him in terms of developing this conference. So it's going to be wonderful. This is, so far we have quite a few people who have signed up. And this is going to be monumental. So it's very important if you can make it happen to try to make it happen. It's $300 to secure your spot, and you have until January 18th to pay the remaining of your balance. And trust me, you are not going to want to miss this. So if there's any type of way you think you could do it, go ahead and secure your spot, and then work on getting the rest of the money together to come. And trust me when I tell you, this is not nothing. We're just like, oh, just get your money and just no. Okay. We understand that this is a commitment, but this is also a commitment that's bigger than us. We're going to have all of these scholars. Okay. We don't know when the next time that this will ever happen, but we right now in the year 2021, we have the opportunity to see all of these elders in one spot in the cradle of civilization. And this doesn't happen all the time. I think the last time this happened, and Professor Small can talk about it, Dr. J talked about it a little bit on the radio when, they took like 1,000 people to Egypt. And so, there's nothing this big that's happened since. And so if you can be a part of it, try your best to, make sure you get there. It's akettours.com. And you, like I said, look at the itinerary, see what you will be partaking in, and get your deposits in. All right. So tonight, we have a little change of plan. Professor Griff may be joining us a little bit later. And if not, we're just going to reschedule him. But in the meantime, before, he gets here, we have Professor Small. And we're going to talk about something that's really important in terms of just like our HAPI movement, but we're going to be real specific. Okay. And before, we get started, before I get started with that, I'm going to actually bring Professor Small in. And yes, Marcus, I will put the website for the tour in the chat so that you have it. It's akettours.com. And anytime you have any, if you need any type of information, you can always go to hapifilm.com and hit like contact us. And one of us, either myself or Taiki, will get back to you ASAP. So there you go. It's akettours.com. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Professor James Small. How you doing, Professor?
I'm doing. I'm good. It's good to see you. Good to see the HAPI family. It's been a minute.
Let me tell you, for those that don't know, yes, it's been a minute. And so we are so happy that Professor Small is joining us. He's been through a bunch of stuff lately, and he's looking so good. You're looking so good, Professor.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And you sound good. That's always good.
Well, happy is happy,
Yes, you cannot be on a happy talk show if you're not happy. That is definitely, definitely very, very important. Yes, and Leo's giving us the hand. He's giving us the clapped hand. So, yep, there it is right there.
Tell Brother Leo, I'm just coming up off of a knee replacement surgery. If y'all got a good knee, please take care of it. You do not want to go through this. I'm 4 weeks in and it's still like a pain in the what. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking on the serious side. But it's good to be unhappy. It's good to be with Sister Felicia. Good to be letting the people know about the One Africa tour in February. It is going to be an extraordinary event. There's so many people in the world that still don't want to give us our Kemet. They still want to claim it as a part of their Middle East or early Mesopotamia, whatever foolishness of, what's that word is called when you're in denial. But white denial of blackness is what it comes out to be in. But we know who we are, what we've done, because we're still doing it. They know we're still doing it. Even as evil as they are or is, it functions because we are the key element that makes it function. We are the key inventors. We are the key players, even though we are still under the oppressive physiognomy of whiteness. So we just have to be who we are and not become who they are, because you can't win that way. They're better at being themselves than you will ever be. But we're better at being ourselves than they can ever be. And the way they've been victorious over us, they've convinced us that we should try to be them or like them. And you cannot be like them without being opposed to being like yourself. So that was my little wisdom, opening the door after a month of being in pain, solitude.
Listen, I think you sound really well. I remember talking to you just, maybe a couple of days after, and your voice was just like, it was real low and it was like slurring. And so you sound really good. I know you're in pain though, because having a whole new knee.
3 weeks ago, I was in another zone. I didn't think a human being could take that kind of pain. And for that long a period of time. But it had to be done. I didn't have any options. I'd struggled with the knee issue for 15, almost 20 years. Wow. I tried everything from chicken feet to chicken bones. It didn't work. Okay. So I had to end up replacing it. So I've got the bionic knee thing going on with about a 20-year guarantee. By then, my time will be up. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
So, but I'm good. I'm good. It's happy to be back on Happy Talk with all of the beautiful brothers and sisters that have supported the HAPI project. And it's more than just the film. It's more than just the historical discussion. It's the restoration of our consciousness. is a step in restoring our essence as human beings. We are not only the original people, we're the original human being. Okay? We're the original manifestation of God, the creation, as a human being.
Yes.
That's what we're really fighting for. So if you're not fighting for that, you're fighting for the Europeans' dominance of the world. And so we have to know what being African is. African is being an imitation of God deliberately.
Being an imitation.
That's what our people tried to tell us in Kemet. Like, look, if nothing exists but God and we now exist, how can we exist except as an expression of that existence? Right? That's common sense, logic by any measure. So this discussions we have, the talking we do, the films we've made, the traveling that so many of you have done to Kemet and to other parts of Africa, we're trying to fight a war with African consciousness and African sacred science, which we call spirituality, at the center of our being. We could win eventually, another couple of 100 years, there won't be any whites. They will have died off. They already had zero minus birth rate, actually, across the globe. But he's not a look, he's a thought. So if we have become his thoughts, the white man will never die, and his atrocities will continue in blackface. So we're talking about how do we restore the God consciousness. That's what African consciousness is. It's God consciousness. You know, if we can restore that to how we construct our personalities, our characters, our families, our village, our extended family, our society, we will then bring the world back to what we call Ma'at. And Ma'at won't just be a word. You know, people, oh, Ma'at this and the 42 negative confessions. No, Ma'at is a way of being, and the negative confessions or the admonitions is how we become the universe that manifests itself as us, the human being that is African. And we gave birth to all the other mutations and depreciations that exist. I hope that's a good opening. Now you take your show where you want to take it.
Well, damn, I don't even know where to take it after that. Yes. Well, oh gosh, you said something you've never said before. Restoration of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Restoration of consciousness. So one of the things that we kind of just want to have a conversation about, for starters, is the HAPI movement, right? You know, a lot of people hear us talking about the HAPI movement. We have a meme that goes around and said, I joined the HAPI movement. And initially we had 3 principles. And then, we started kind of really getting, into this and dealing with more, more people. And so we thought that we need to add another tenement onto this. So the first one, and the one that we added, was I love Black people. That was like, part of the HAPI movement. It's I love Black people. Number 2 is to support Black businesses. Number 3, to become more financially astute with our money. And number 4, teach the youth the truth. And eventually we will add on a tenement about health, right? But I want to really just give a little bit more clarification about number 1, which is to love Black people. And Professor, I want to, I want to just kind of have a conversation about this with you, because a couple of weeks ago we had Judge Joe Brown come on, and he talked about things that he thought that we needed to do collectively as a people to get to this place of like a financial independence, or like the glory promised land, right? And one of the things he said was that love has nothing to do with it. And I was thinking about this, and Taki and I had discussions about this. And one of the things we started thinking about, especially, last week we had Dr. McKingay come on with Asar Imhotep, and he talked about these 12 traits of a human being through African eyes, right? And one of them, and he also expounded on this whole idea, is that we can't really be in community or have unity unless we trust one another. because through trust is when we can build this, this ideal community. And so I wanted to get your opinion, okay, about this idea of loving Black people, and how do we start that? How do we start like loving each other more, like on a real level?
One of the sisters that I admire extraordinarily more than probably any outside of my mother, my wife, and my daughters is called Zora Neale Hurston. And all Black people, all people who consider themselves Black or have found out and know that they are Black African people, need to read everything she has ever penned, because she was a living African spirit in North America, trying to bring light and consciousness to other African spirits in North America. And Zora Neale said, to be there, you got to go there. But to go there, you got to know there. And so this comes back to the question of love. What is it we're calling love? Maybe what we're calling love is unworthy of what true love really is. Because you can't love what you don't know, and you can't go where you don't know. You see, and so we band a love around when we're really talking about attachment and attraction, you know. And attachment is a necessary process, and attraction is a necessary prerequisite to get to know and communicate. And there are a lot of other prerequisites, but what is this thing we're calling love? What is it that you have to know? You have to know that you are God having a human experience. Let's get it right down to the nitty-gritty. I don't give a damn about any religions, not even the ones we call African religions. All of them are fake, controlling instruments, the way I see them practiced in the world today. There should be nothing between the human being and creation itself, except knowledge. Okay? Now, many of these institutions that call themselves religions, if they see themselves as educational institutions departing information instead of controlling human beings' actions, we might get somewhere and learn how to love, because love is about knowing. I can't love you if I don't know you. And I can't know you if I don't love myself. See, most people who say they love people don't even love the person who's saying they love people. You don't love yourself because you don't know yourself. How can you love what you don't know? And if you don't know that you're God having a human experience, if you don't know that you're the African human being, the first manifestation of the universe as a human being was an African woman, you got to know that. It's not a game. It's not a myth. When the universe wanted to manifest as a butterfly, it did. And so the butterfly in all of its beauty and its process existed. But it was the universe, the totality of everything, that decided to express itself in that way. And so we, the African human being, we are the totality of the universe expressed in this way. And you got to know that to love that. And once you can love that, you can recognize that or the development and growth of that in anyone else you see. And then you can go into the process of loving that. But you can't love what you don't know. That's why there's so much conflicts in marriage and relationships, because we're trying to build fusion, create a fusion with elements that really hate what the other one stands for. Don't even believe the same things. Not struggling even for the same psychological, spiritual, or philosophical goals, and talking about I love you because I've been attracted to you, because I've become attached to you or dependent on you, or physically involved in your ecstasy. And then we interpret that shit to be love and wonder why it keeps crashing at every curve. That's why you can say love had nothing to do with it if you talk about love from the Western perspective, which is really attraction and attachment,
Mm.
and dependency. You know? To love me, I got to know me. To love you, I have to know and love me before I can even begin to know how to know and love you. If that's what we're talking about as love, then love's got everything to do with it. And let me bring that back to Black people. You have to know that you are before you can be. You have to know that you are before you can be. You know, it would be wonderful if we could say, well, this tone of the skin makes us Black, and that's the foolishness we're caught up in now. You know, Black has never been a color to Black people.
Yeah.
It's been the essence of their being. It's out of the Blackness that comes all the light. And all the stories that our ancestors left us, all the metaphor and folklore, life emerged out of the Black waters of noon. Out of the Blackness comes everything. So when we talk about Black, we ain't just talking about a color.
Yeah.
Because most of us, yes, we have people on the continent who are Black and blue Black. But most of us have shades of that Blackness called brown or tan or beige. Yet we still have the essence of even the Black blue. If we can begin to understand those things, but you can't understand those things until you love this thing called you. And you can't love this thing called you until you know the thing called you. And you can't know the thing called you until you know the history of the people, the things we call the ancestors that produced the thing called you. So history, as Dr. Noble says, erases the mystery. What mystery? The mystery that ignorance have you swimming in with all the illusions of beingness that you can't even put your hands on because they're not real. You know? So as an African being, and we use that word because that's the word that has been acceptable. Over the millions of years, we've used millions of different terms to refer to ourselves. As long as we agree that we're referring to ourselves as being the essence of the divine expression itself, functioning as this living being we call human. If that's what we're talking about, then that's what makes me African. I'm God having a human experience. That makes me African. And when I say God, I'm not talking about a thing in the universe. I'm talking about the totality of the universe itself that has no boundaries, no beginnings, and no end. It's amazing that we all live within a Judeo-Christian pretext, which talks about an alpha and an omega, a beginning and the end. How can divinity have a beginning and an end? Because if it does, something is greater than it existed before it, so it is not divinity, is it?
Yeah.
There can't be no alpha and omega. Such silly childishness. Children do things like that. And we are following children ideologically, philosophically, intellectually, and so-called spiritually. That's why I'm dumping the words African spirituality in preference to African sacred science.
Yes.
You know, yes. African sacred science, meaning our understanding of nature, our understanding of the universe, our understanding of cosmology, our understanding of its role it plays with us and the role we play with it. And then when we sit down and start talking about loving Black people, we would have defined Black people to be an expression of the universe in the formulation we call a human being. That's what we're talking about loving. But to love it, you got to know it. Zora made it simple. To be there, you got to go there. But to go there, you have got to know there. Yes. That's very simple, right? 3 little things. To be there, to be in love, to be of love, you got to go to that place called love. To go to that place called love, I got to know that place called love. If we go back to ancient Kemet, we look at HAPI, we use Kemet as the metaphor for the whole universe. Mm-hmm. And what have they left us in Kemet? They show us the human being as divinity. But they tell us, you don't just kill a bunch of people and say, I'm the king, I'm the queen, and that makes me the ruler. No. the quality and characters of your personality, which is made up of attributes, that is the attributes and qualities of nature and the cosmology itself, raise you to the level where you can call yourself an imitation of the divine. So love has everything to do with it, because it is love itself. I think there's a writer, Khalil Gibran. He was Lebanese. And before the Lebanese got confused and thought they were white folks, they used to be African folks and still are. But Gibran, unlike so many of his people, knew who he was. And if you read anything of his work, you'll see immediately Khalil Gibran was an alive, living spirit. And his most beautiful piece is called The Prophet. And I know in one of the verses in The Prophet, someone says, "Oh, Prophet, tell us about children." And it's so telling in the few lines, because they'll say, "Tell us about death, tell us about love." But this one is to tell us about children. And the prophet says, "Your children are not your children. They come through you, they do not come from you. You can give them your dreams, but you can never share in theirs." If we just understood that, we'll know what our jobs are and our responsibilities are to rear the next generation. See?
Say that one more time.
Yeah, your children, not your children. They come through you, they do not come from you. You can give them your dreams, but you can never share in theirs. And he also said in another one of his books, it's called A Smile and a Tear. The tear from the eyes. And he was saying, it is love, not beauty, that is in the eyes of the beholder. You know, in the Western thing, they make this again, the attachment, the attraction, the physical thing, the beauty represents being in the eyes of the beholder. That brings it. No, it is love, not beauty, that is in the eyes of the beholder. You see? And once you learn to love the essence of the divine in you, you will learn to recognize the essence of divine in another. And then you are able to love that other, because that other will be able to return that love to you. Then love exists. Then harmony exists. One of the places you see it so openly is in Leonard Jeffries and Rosalind Jeffries. That's love. Wade Nobles, Dr. Vera Nobles. That's love. It's all around us. We just got to know what we're looking at, and then we know what the models are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we come back to the original question, you know, loving Black people. Once we can establish what I hope I've just tried to establish in terms of what love should be emanating from, then we define what who is the Black person is. The Black person is that. We are God. Nobody, no one on this earth can tell you anything about God or divinity or supreme being that didn't come from the mind of a human being. We can only describe our own greatest possibilities. And our description of divinity is our own greatest possibilities. But how do we obtain that? That's what our ancestors left us in Kemet. Process, qualities, attributes, things you must develop in your character to grow to the next level of understanding and expansion and absorption of the wisdom of the universe itself. People say, "Oh, well, I'm going into Ipan, I'm Orisha." The word Ipa simply means the wisdom of the universe, and Orisha simply means the forces and the powers that emanates from that wisdom in the universe. The same thing with the Loas in Haiti. They're not a bunch of gods running around. If they were, what we thought they were, Haiti wouldn't be in the mess it's in today. The reason Haiti's in the mess they're in today is we're trying to look at the Loas like a bunch of Christians look at saints and stuff. When we realize that we are the Loas, when we become those Loas, we change the world.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
That means One must know thyself. The word that Dr. Ben taught us is on the gateway of every great temple. Know thyself. People come to Haiti kidnapping our children, raping our children, molesting our children, bringing them back to America and making house slave out of them and talking about their missionaries. And then when some of our people capture some of these criminals, our people are made to look like criminals for capturing the criminals.
Yeah.
That's why I love Dessalines, and I love the spirit of Dessalines. Kupatet Pulekai. That is the answer. They murdered him because he said Kupatet Pulekai, and he carried it out. Cut their heads off and burn their shacks down to the ground. Free yourself of them, both in your mind and in your space. There is no other way. We can pretend that you can have relationships, that you have no laws of nature to substantiate as being possible. Alligators and crocodiles look alike, but they don't live together. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't see no lions hanging out on the lawn with no leopards. No, they understand, listen there. Kind of look like, bro, but you're there, I'm here. We have different paths. African people, what our ancestors was trying to say, and are still trying to say, because we remember, and I've said a lot of time, and I keep reiterating, we are the ancestors we pour libation to. But we don't pour libations to our ancestors. We like a bunch of Christian praying to mythology. Oh, this one is for Dr. Clark, Ashe. There's for Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben don't give a damn, can't hear none of that crap. You know why? Because you're not pouring it to Dr. Ben. You're not pouring it to Dr. Clark. In order to pour libation to Dr. Ben or Dr. Clark, you have to behave as they said you should have behaved, and you must act as they said you should have acted, and you must do the work that they have prescribed you to do. That is the libation you pour to them.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're on it. That's love. I don't know what love got to do with it. I am Dr. Ben when I want to be Dr. Ben. I am Dr. Clark because I take action. I do the work that they were doing, and I try to continue that work. That's my libation. Because you sit there, Sister Felicia and Michelle just came up. We know that we are made up of the DNA of our mothers and fathers. That means we are them. And they were made up of the DNA of our 4 grandparents. And so we are also them. And if they're all dead and gone, they are the ancestors in that metaphorical philosophical identification. But in reality, we are those ancestors in the continuum. That's eternity.
Mm.
That's eternity. You want to rebuild an African world? Rebuild the African personality. You can't rebuild the African personality unless it's based on the blueprint of God. You can't base it on a blueprint you know nothing about because you haven't studied and learned your history, nor the way and the behaviors and the culture of your ancestry. And that's what this war is about. And we're going to keep running around in the circle till we get it right. Because if we think we can act like white people and just gather some money and get some power and take over, look at the 54 nations of Africa, look at the Caribbean. Has it worked? No.
No.
Being a good white man or white woman in blackface, running a government or trying to run a bank or that, it has not worked.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't work for him. It works for him because he's killing and robbing us. You see? And so we try to kill and rob us too. And that's why we're where we're at.
Mm.
What is it that I want to become? I don't want to become the thing I'm fighting against. I'm not going to become the thing I'm fighting against because if I become the thing I'm fighting against, it wins every time. I lose. What is it our ancestors left for us? They left us the universe. You go into Kemet, you find arithmetic, you find geometry. Last couple of nights, I've been reading Stolen Legacy. I've been reading Stolen Legacy for 20, 30 years, and I can't get enough of it. You know?
I just started reading that book.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yes.
And it's just so clear who we are.
Yeah.
It's so clear what they've stolen from us right in broad daylight. They're still stealing. And it is so clear how ignorant we are about knowing who we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So Professor, I want to go back to something you said, so we can kind of get some specific things to do. But before I do that, I just want to just give a quick little HAPI commercial there. First, shout out. I see King Simon is in the house. We are always, so I tell you, we have like the best chat in the world. I tell you guys are awesome. But Peace and Nafisa, Dealing the Real is in the house. I see Marcus. Leo is just chatting up a storm over there. And Tashi Smart. I tell you, if anybody has an opportunity if they're on Facebook, you got to go to Tashi Smart's Facebook page. I know I'm putting you on blast, girl, but she has like the most, she puts like these really, like all her stuff is positive and it's like about gratitude. She has pictures of her little people up there. It's a nice page to like when you're strolling on Facebook pages. She's a really nice page. So peace to Tashi Smart for that. But you guys, if you can, you can clearly give a little HAPI love. I'm gonna put the Cash App up over here. And I want you guys to understand that when you guys contribute to, there it is, a stream. And I got that right there from King Simon. He does that on his show. But when you contribute to to HAPI, it's a form of cooperative economics because we literally take the money that you guys, give us, because, to do all the things that we're doing is not free. It costs some money, and we redistribute the money into other Black folks' hands. And, and that's kind of like what we're doing over here in HAPI World. So when you guys give money, just understand that it's literally going to a good cause, because we are, we just give it back to the community in some form or fashion. So right there, you can go to, and if you're on YouTube, you can hit the super chat. That's cool too. And if you can go, and if you don't want to give either of those ways, you can just go to hapifilm.com and either get merchandise, or you can donate through our GoFundMe campaign. So any of those ways is a good way to support, because sometimes, as people, we can't do every single thing, but if someone's doing a thing that you can't get to right then, give them money. That's how I feel about Anthony Browder. Anytime I get money, I just give it to Anthony Browder's his non-for-profit, the Asa Hilliard Foundation, Restoration Foundation, because he's over there, literally right now, digging up our history. And so I can't physically be there, but whatever little money I got goes towards his organization. So if you could please share a little HAPI love with us, that'd be greatly appreciated. All right. So Professor, when you were saying, at the core of this, we can't really go around loving people if we don't love ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you talk about this. Like when I actually first met you, you were telling me this, and you were telling me something that I should do, along with everyone when it starts, when we start to talk about loving ourselves, like some of our first steps. So can you just talk a little bit about what that means, or what can we specifically do?
Well, it all must start with knowing oneself, And I used to tell people, I say, study history. And history, as Dr. Nobles always teaches, erases the mystery. Now, I'm in a little bit of pain, so I'm rocking and rolling a little bit. But the history of you, who are you? Are you willing to stand in front of that mirror? Mm-hmm. You remember when I told you about the mirror?
Yeah.
First you thought I was just being fresh. Oh, he just being fresh. You're trying to mess with me.
Wait. Let's just clear the air here. I never think you're being fresh. What I think is that you have a lot of ways, and that's what makes you so dope, Professor Small, is that you know how to get to everybody in different ways. For the little highfalutin people, like if you like highfalutin that like a lot of fancy words, you know how to talk that language. You know how to talk to people who don't like fancy words. You know how to talk to them. You know how to talk to the girls. You know how to talk to the men. That's what makes you dope. So no, not all. Every time I talk to you, it's this. I get my pad and paper out and pencil because I know you about to drop something. But go ahead.
Yes. Well, one of the key things is you must know yourself. But that's not just reading some history books. You must know this self. You must look in the mirror of you. Tell yourself the truth about you. You think this pain I'm going through right now is something? That pain that you get when you tell yourself the truth about you is a sweet pain, but it's a necessary pain for growth. If you're willing to stand in front of that mirror and say, because I do it all the time. I mean, I'll be shaking me down.
Me too.
And talking about, let me
Yes.
tell you the story. Like there was a couple of sisters who I went with when I was younger, and they broke my heart. And I loved them. When you're a little country boy, I was still a virgin at 18, trying to make it till I got married, but lost it on the back seat of a 56 Chevrolet. But the point is, that's the truth. But the most beautiful sister. But I felt they betrayed me because I was a little country boy and all I wanted was a wife. And I didn't know about hanging out and partying. I was just trying to find somebody to get married to and have some children, raise a family, go to school. Because I was just little country village boy. So for years of my life, I went through life brokenhearted. Really, even when I found someone that loved me, that I loved, still hurting and aching because I felt I had been done such wrong by those sisters. And it wasn't until a few years ago I realized they didn't do anything wrong to me. My ignorance did everything wrong to me. Just to expect them to behave differently than the culture and the value I found them in, or for me to behave differently than the culture and value I came out of, was part of our own destruction. Mm-hmm. Today, I'm still friends. One of the sisters is an ancestor. The other, we still talk after 50-something years, almost 60 years. We call each other, we stay in touch. And we talk about our youth. And it took a long time for us to really admit to our own ignorance. In the past, I would call them mistakes, but they weren't. It was our ignorance. We didn't know how to love ourselves. We thought we knew what love was. We thought attraction was love. We thought attachment was love. Thought dependency was love. We thought ego was love and all those things. And now we realize that finding God in you is love. And that can be taught. But it has to start with knowing yourself. It has to start with looking in a mirror and forgiving yourself for anything you think you might have done wrong to yourself. Because most of what we end up having done was out of ignorance. Most of what we did, we thought we were doing the right thing. We thought we were doing what we should based on the social order and the socialization that gives us our values, interests, and principles. And then we get to these calamities. So we need to back up and look in that mirror. Who am I? I'm Lucille and Paul's Johnson Small son. I'm Andrew and Susan Small's grandson. I'm Hope and Joe Alston, great-grandson. I'm Peter and Martha Small, great-grandson. And they're all in me. I'm trying to finish what they started when the first human being out of which they emanated manifests. I'm trying to perfect myself to be a part of the divine again and to teach that through my behavior to other people.
Behavior through other people. Yes, that's the key.
That's the key. But you first have to be able to do it to yourself, which is the hard part. Yeah. I'm 76 on Friday, but I'm still trying to be. I'm not there. People say, you master teacher. I'm not master nothing. I'm just a person trying to share an experience in life to help others, if possible, make the journey of healing the universe itself, because that's what we really try to do. There is a breach in the universe, which in itself is not negative. It is normal. But the problem is that the thing that makes the universe healthy is trying to identify itself with the thing that makes the universe unhealthy. You see? You understand what I'm saying? This is important. There's something that happens in the universe. Dr. Ben called it the laws of opposites, cause and effect, is what we call it in science. If both things become cause or both things become effect, then the universe is sick. One must remain cause and one must remain effect in order to have harmony and balance. We have to know which one of those we are. And you start with the self-examination in that mirror. Don't hate yourself. Stop blaming yourself. You know, a lot of horrible things has happening to us, male and female, especially the female, in the route to adulthood. A lot of abuse, a lot of molestation, a lot of injury, a lot of hurt, a lot of misguidance, a lot of shattering of confidence. And then we live in a society that make us blame ourselves. That's why we got to look in the mirror and say, wait a minute, I didn't do that to me. And I will not carry the burden of the guilty parties who did that to me. Okay? Yes. Let me look at me as being a part of a universe that is perfected, that is perfect. You see? Let me see me how I was when I came out of the womb of my mother. I was the perfection of the divine itself before somebody tampered with it. But let me be clear. I'm not going to let your tampering, whether it's molestation, rape, white supremacy, white dominance, you are not going to define me. That's why it's so important to remember the other point of Dr. Noble's. Power is the ability to define your reality and have other people accept your definition of your reality as if it were their own. And that's what looking in that mirror allows you to do. Take yourself apart. Set it all on the table, then pick the most beautiful, perfect parts there and put it back together and put the rest in the garbage where it belongs. Then learn about your mama. Stop blaming her for things she had no control over. Stop blaming daddy because the society of white supremacy, enslavement, and oppression dominated and beat him down so bad he couldn't even be the man he even dreamed of being. You want him to be. Yes. Tell him, I'm going to take it to the next level, Daddy. I'm going to take it to the next level, Mama. My father left when I was 4 years old. Never seen him back again. No, but I never hated him because my mother would never teach us that. My stepfather, my father, married my mother with 11 children. Raised 11 children that wasn't his, just like they were his. And I remember the day when he passed. He passed so young. He's such a beautiful brother. And we were down south at the funeral, and his family couldn't understand, his birth family, that me and my brothers and sisters are standing there because we wanted to do his funeral. That's the way we do it in our family. We do our funerals. And we're talking about this man we love and all the great things he did. And people, they got caught up in a concept called stepfather. I never knew a stepfather. I knew my father who loved me, who stayed up with me like 3, 4 in the morning doing homework and got up at 5 to go to work and never complained. I didn't understand the man was only getting 1 hour's sleep a night. But he'd stay until I finished with my math because I was very slow in school. I was very smart at this stuff. And he sat up there with us all night. At 5 o'clock in the morning, he was a brick mason. He was up and on that road. And so when I think of him, that's my model, you know. I remember the day before he left and I went to the hospital to see him. And this is all coming back to your original question. I had my youngest Sonic Nap with me, the king of Ghana, the Santahini was here, and I was with him marching in some parade downtown. And my dad had told me the day before he had cancer, was in the hospital, and he said, I said, what time do you want me to come tomorrow? He says, I want you to be here at 3 o'clock. I said, I'll be here. He said, bring the baby with me, because that was the baby. And he says, because I know I'm never going to see him again. I kept saying, no, you know, you're going to come home and you're going to see him. And so when I got to the hospital, they wouldn't let me take the baby out. So I got a security guard to hold my baby, my little 6-month-old. I don't know how I convinced that man to take this baby, and you hold this baby. I'm going upstairs to see my daddy. And when I got upstairs and I stepped off the elevator, I could see the bed, and the bed was folded back. And I knew what that meant. As I'm walking toward the room, the nurse came and said, "Oh, Mr. Small, your father passed." And I said, "Was there anyone with him?" He said, "Yeah." So your mother and your auntie and uncle was with him. And I said, "Okay, good." And I said, "What time did he pass?" He said, 3 o'clock. He told me to be there at 3 o'clock. That ripped through my soul and opened me up in a way that I knew there was things greater than any of these religions we talk about. Because I knew him, and I knew the conversation we had the night before, which I want to tell you about, which is very funny. Where he gave me all of his underwear. So I got these new Buddha the Moon under the bed. Get that by you, take that. Got a new overcoat in the closet. You take that.
It's amazing.
I came back to that man because he knew himself. He was from Santee, South Carolina. He was a brick mason. Built homes down there before coming to New York to find a job to make better money to help raise the children. And couldn't get a job as a brick mason because he was black. And he told me, he said, "Son," so I came and I took that mortar and I put it on that brick and I spun it. They had to build these walls, the demonstration. He said, "I was finished before anybody. It was perfect." And they still gave it to somebody else. He ended up dying from cancer because he had to take a job in a trash can factory, painting trash cans. This brick mason who had built homes with his hands, built a 3-speed tape recorder from scratch in his bedroom, put himself through RCA electronic school and home course, could only get a job as a trash can painter, the paint of which gave him the cancer that killed him, because he was an African man. But you know what? He never let that stop him from being the best African man he could be, the best father he could be. And he was the one that brought me heavily into the struggle. You know, him and my mother bringing me close to Malcolm X, giving me the literature I needed to read. They knew that we had to fight to make a better space for ourselves as African people, and it all came to knowing ourselves. And we live in South Carolina. How those people got a book on Black history, I don't know, but they had it. And they taught us, and we learned, because there was something they understood clearly, that you must know who you are as an individual. Start with yourself, look in that mirror. Then learn about your family, the family tree. Use that concept of forgiveness, because you can't blame people for doing things or not doing things they didn't even have a clue they were doing or a clue they should be doing.
Yeah.
You know? Learn about your family. Learn about the history of the town they grew up in Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, New York, Detroit. Then learn about Africa, the greater African world, until we get back to our great Kemet and understand why we're using HAPI as a vehicle now to bring that body of wisdom back to us at an economic level, to show us how to use the knowledge and the wisdom of our people when they knew who they were, to reconstruct the world that had been shattered by the oppression and the colonialism and the enslavement that has gone on for the last few hundred years. But it all starts with knowing me, loving me. If I can love me, I can love you. If I can't love me, I can't love you. And I can't love me if I don't know me. And I can't know me if I don't study me and accept the truth about me. It'd be wonderful to say I've lived a perfect life. That'd be the biggest lie in the world. Or I've been the most honest person. That'd be the biggest lie in the world. I've been the best of what I could be, given what I know. And what I learned is that I need to know a lot more than I know now to be who I want to be. That would be a worthy example for somebody to call a master teacher, or this for anybody to model after.
It, just a little note right there, Professor Small. No one agrees with that statement that you just said about not being a master teacher. I'm just saying, I'm looking at, we hear you crystal clear, but I'm looking at all these chats and they're like, I disagree, Professor Small. Like, nope, I disagree. But I'm just telling you.
You know what the key thing, Felicia, is, because I joke with you all the time, I laugh with you, I even flirt with you. I love you. It has nothing to do with sex or attachments or what you own. I love you because you are me. See, once you learn to love you as an African being, you recognize that all other African beings are you.
They're you. They're you. It
So
is
let's
like
come to your original question. I know I took a long way to get there. But to love you, I have to love me. To love me, I have to know me. To know me assigns me a knowledge of you.
Yes. Yes. So that's, that's one of the things when, we were talking before we came on air. And, I was saying that like when we see other Black people, just if you're walking out street, you see another Black person and you look at them, like I'm always smiling, how you doing? Because it's like, I see them in me. Like, I'm like, we are on the same team. Like we're one, and it's like, once you
That's
start.
good. And that's a good behavior because they don't know we're walking around injured. We're walking around shattered. We're walking around broken. And every time when I see a brother, a sister, I say hello. Many times they don't say hello back because they're not used to people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People look around like, you talking to me? I'm like, yes. Especially when you're in a sea of whiteness, it's like, I the first person I'm looking for is a Black person. Everywhere I go, hey, hi, I'm making myself known. I'm like, hey, I'm over here. Like, I'm one of you, and sometimes it's like your intention, right? Your intention can't be, it has to be from a pure place. Like you just want to connect to this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that connection, all types of things is possible. But if your intention isn't there, like in that type of, if your intention isn't pure and if it isn't from a place of like love and, you want this person to know that you see them, then we get a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Like the stuff that you're talking about,
right.
A lot of ego driven stuff.
Right. But it's clear that it's knowledge, but it is knowledge of what? Knowledge of self.
Yes.
When we say history, people think, oh, history is money. I don't have time for that history stuff. But the history stuff is the stuff that makes you the being that allow you to do all this other stuff.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
And so knowing history is not going to stop you from being a doctor. Knowing history is not going to stop you from being a teacher, a lawyer, a dishwasher, a cab driver, or owning a fleet of cabs, or owning a rental unit, or knowing history is going to enhance your doing all of those things.
Yes. It gives you foundation. Because sometimes when you're out here, sometimes you're treading on some waters that you've never seen. Like maybe in your family, nobody in your family's ever had a business, or maybe someone in your family has never, had a successful relationship. But when you know your history, you're reading about people who were enterprising, people who had loving relationships. Like you're reading all that stuff. It just gives you more like oomph. Because sometimes
it shows you the possibilities.
Yes, because no one can stay just like at this high level of I'm positive, like all the time. Nobody can stay up there all the time. There's ebbs and flows.
But it starts with knowing yourself and not being afraid of yourself. Do not be ashamed of the things that happen to you, because most of the things that happen to you, you didn't do them to yourself. Erase those things out of your path. Be the being you want to be. Make yourself into the African man or woman you want to be. Once you get knowledge, then you can become the architect of your own character, you see. And once you become the architect of your own character, with the right knowledge and the right understanding, you can create the being that changes your environment. By changing your personal environment, you can change your external environment, and thus you're changing the world and influencing others on how to change the world. Yes. That's what HAPI is about. That's what the HAPI movement is about. We use economic as the core piece, but it is more than just a discussion of economics. It's the discussion of beingness itself. You were talking about your intent. All content and Dr. Hilliard taught us this, all content has intent.
Wait. Oh God.
All content.
You got a jewelry show going on tonight. You just dropping all these little jewels. I tell you, I can't.
I want you to know this is the first lecture I've done since I got out for that surgery 4 weeks ago.
I was about to say, this is some new stuff. It's like you know, after surgery, you came up with some whole like new analogies on some things. These I haven't heard. Okay.
Yes.
You said all content
has intent.
Has intent.
Right. Like you said, when you saw those people who you talked to, it is the intent of it. So you're talking to them and greeting them. That's the content. But it's the intent that's going to have the impact.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And,
yes.
the intent rather is going to determine the impact, because even if it's negative, it's intent, and if it's positive, it's intent. You see? And so.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think people understand that though. Yeah. It's like, and you can't, and the other piece, you can't be wrapped up in how it's received, because if you give it in a way that's pure, you may not see it right then and there, and you may never see it, but you don't know how what you did, a small gesture or a big gesture, like how that really changes people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and I hear it all the time. I get phone calls and people listen. You don't remember me, but 30 years ago, you changed my life. And I go like, where were we 30 years ago? Oh. What was I doing? You were giving a lecture at the First World Alliance, and you said da-da-da-da. And I know that's true, because even with me, when I left the OAU in 1980, moved back to New York, was trying to make sure pulling my family and my life back together financially so we can have a place to live. And we were living at our parents', and I was going through a lot of things. And my surrogate aunt, Margie Henderson, says, James, I got Minister Farrakhan coming to Teachers College tonight. Why don't you come? And I go like, I'm with Malcolm's group, and maybe they won't let me in, because he's at the Nation. At that time, we were kind of loggerheads, and I was just stepped down from the imamship of Malcolm's Muslim Mosque, Inc. And, I was still very young. So I said, I'm going to go. And the minister didn't know who I was, and I was sitting right there on the front row. And the lecture was, I was trying to figure out, how do I reconstitute myself? How do I move back into the world? How do I get myself some work? I need money to get a place for my family. How do I? And his the title of the teaching was, I'm in your world, but I'm not of your world. I go like, what? He was talking about the white man's world. He said, yes, I'm in your world, but I'm not of your world. And I go, oh, there's another world then that I can be of. And that opened a door for me like nothing you could ever imagine. Because I began to look for that world where I belonged in, even though I was in a world being dominated by this other instrument. And I found that world in African spirituality, African culture, African history, African understanding. And then I met this brother, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, years before, and I was back, and we got back together. And he took me on my first trip to West Africa, on my second trip, on my third trip, and then to Kemet and so forth.
And you guys like brought 1,000 people to Africa.
Oh, please. Dr. Jeffries and Sister Rosalind Jeffries was the leader of all of that. We would just take students for free every year. 20, 30 students, just took them to Africa, along with the rest of the general public. And so I found that I was in somebody else's world, but I wasn't them. I was in their world, but I wasn't of their world. And so I went back down south to that plantation, and I talked to my grandma, and I talked to others, and they began to share our world. They began to tell me about us. And then I went to Africa, and I saw us. I saw the same village. I saw the same people that I knew from the swamps of South Carolina. And then I knew I was home. And I had a people, and I had a way of life different from this other people's world, and I've been living that. Yes, I'm in your world, but I'm not of your world. I'm of the universe, I am the universe. That's what Africa means. That's what our ancestors tried to teach us in Kemet. When they talk about the sun, and they're talking about Haru and Ra, and some of us come at it from a Christian thing, and we get caught up in thinking it's something to do with the sun. The sun is a symbol of what's possible. The possibility of eternal light, energy, source, being in the environment that we can visibly see. The greatest element there is the sun. When they say, when in the book of the pyramid text, and Ra says, I created myself out of myself. I cause existence to exist so that existence might exist. And when I discovered that I existed, my aunt was at my side. He didn't say I created my aunt. You know? And then he said, I coughed up Shu. And I spat out Shu, and I coughed up Tefnut. Meaning I spat out the air, and then the gases and the moisture. The ancestors were talking about quantum physics and science.
Yes.
Using symbols to explain them.
Yes.
And then he gets us Geb, the earth, and Nut, the heavenly bodies, we call them the sky. And they come together in their elemental chemistry, and they create a Sar and a Set and the other human family. And so when we look back and study, they've been trying to tell us from the beginning of the first earliest writing, we are the universe.
We are the universe. Like, just when you walk with that, just walking with that, I walk around like I'm the universe, and not in arrogance, but it's like when you know what you know it. And
I am that I am.
Yes. It's so funny how you were saying that you don't know when you touch people, you don't know when they recognize that. And there's two things about that. One, sometimes when someone does something, a gesture or whatever for you, what it also does, it creates a whole chain of things, right? So someone does something to me and it touches me in a special way, and then I'm walking out in the world and I see somebody. So now I'm sharing what I got with someone else, and they're feeling it, and now they're sharing it with someone else. And this is really how we start to build this idea.
That's the happy movement. And usually that's the happy movement.
Damn it, that's the happy movement right there. Yes. And one thing I just want to tell you, I was just talking to one of my good friends. I've known him for over 20 years. He's in DC, and we're, talking about all types of stuff, catching up. And he's, I told him something about City College. He's like, yeah, every time I would go home, he went to Hampton University, but he's like, every time he would come home in the summertime, he'd take a class. He's like, yeah, I remember this one summer. I took this class with, I don't know, this is him talking to me. He's like, I don't know if you know them. It was Dr. Jeffries and Professor Small. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I know them. Yeah, go ahead and tell me about this class. He's like, yo, you don't know. And then he starts just going. He was so like, just the whole conversation shifted in a whole other way, right? And he's talking about, and this was 20 years ago, that he sat in a class with you and Professor Small. And he was like, he said it made his summer, right? And he was like, afterwards, after class, it was a Wednesday night, and everyone would walk down to Grant's Tomb because they had live jazz music going on. Like it was just like so wild. So yes, I don't think maybe you do or you don't understand, but you definitely, some things that you said, sometimes it takes a little minute to kind of just resonate.
You begin to feel it and understanding, because we started talking about this question of loving Black people. When I first came out of the hospital 4 weeks ago, I didn't think I was going to live. I'm tough. I've been through stuff, but I never had pain like that. I'd never been incapacitated. And my poor wife I was in the hospital for almost 4 nights, so she couldn't sleep in this big house by herself for 4 nights. So she stayed awake all night. So she wanted to take care of me, but by the time I got home, she was done, poor lady. And so, but the second day after I came home, here comes my number 3 daughter. She left her 3 little children with her husband in Virginia, and she got on a bus, and she came home and for 5 days took care of her daddy. The other children were helping in too, but she felt that, all right, she's a school teacher. She just took that week off from school. and came up here and sat on that bed and made sure I got my pills on whatever hour I was supposed to come, 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Somebody said, wake up, daddy. I'll get you your water. That's when I realized this young lady could have stayed there and called me and see how I was doing. But she didn't do that. She had 3 children, all 3 in school. Her husband's working. She worked out an arrangement for 5 days. And she got on that bus and she came because she knew that she had 2 elders who was her parents and we couldn't carry that burden. And that child brought us over a space. The one who was here, she had been running with me for months and months and months. And she too had 4 or 5 children. I got so many children, but she'd be going night and day. And the young men, they all stepped in. If it wasn't, because we didn't want to bring in outsiders in the house with the COVID thing and to bring in somebody to help in the house, we just didn't feel safe. And it was the gathering of those children to come around us and to make it happen and to go back home when it was done. And they got me through the most difficult period of the time. And then I realized that they listened, they heard me. You know, even when they were angry at me because daddy got me wearing this ugly shoes and daddy, you won't buy me this and you're going to drag me to the First World to the lectures every weekend and I want to go to the movies. But they heard me.
Yeah.
And I felt that they heard me. And I see this with so many of my students through the years as I see them all over the world, even in Africa. I'm walking on a block in Africa in Kumasi, me and Dr. Jeffries, and there's a young man yelling, Professor Small, Professor Small. He had a baby in his arm and he had another one by the hand and a woman. And he was one of my students from Ghana. And he did what I asked him. He got that degree and he went back home. He was a principal of a school in Kumasi. And he just happened to see me walking down the street in Kumasi. And there that young man, who I didn't know what had happened to him, but he went back home and he taught his people. And he's the principal of that school. And he has a beautiful family. That makes you feel like Superman, you know. And that's what love is. Love is knowing yourself. When you know yourself, you can do for yourself. And when you know yourself, you see somebody else who know themselves, and then you help exchange and you grow each other bigger. And then you help others who don't know themselves find themselves so that they can get to other people. Like you were talking, how one person, it expands into many people. And that's really what loving the Black person, the Black man is about, is knowing. I need to know why Nana Nketia, Kwame Nketia, the king of Esukado and region in Ghana, the Western region, sent me a little video on WhatsApp today. And the video, and he says, enjoy Africa and Honduras. And it was a street in Honduras with brothers and sisters with their drums, you know, and their hair ties on. And the 2 sisters were dancing, so beautiful this dance. And in the dance, I saw, when the brother danced, I saw dancers of Ivory Coast. I saw dancers of Ghana. I saw all these different African steps that I know and dance routines that I know. But this is Honduras with the Garifuna people. Yeah. And so when he sent me that this morning with no comments other than just enjoy Africa in Honduras, suddenly I realized that every step that was in every one of those dance meant something to the people who was doing it and the people who was watching it. And most of the movements was telling a story. The hand movements, the body movements, the arm movements, the gesture, all is telling a commentary about an ethical, moral event that we should imitate or mimic in self-development as we grow. African culture is so beautiful and so sweet when we understand it. And when we begin to recreate it anew in the environments we find ourselves in. Because we may not do the dance the way, like the young man, the dance he was doing that you see in the Ivory Coast that looked like he's floating on air. He was doing it. It was different from the brother I see in Ivory Coast, but I knew it was the same dance. So he had adapted to Honduras, but he kept the message of the dance. We've done it here in North America, but because we've been under such an assault on our character, an assault on our self-development, an assault on knowing ourselves, we haven't even recognized our African retentions. Even in our language, we don't speak English, really. Try to write the way I speak. And you go like, what is wrong with him? You can't write the Gullah Geechee. And Gullah Geechee isn't just some people from some island in South Carolina. That's the totality of us. That's simply our Creole, our African retentions all along the Gulf of Mississippi and Arkansas and Alabama, right into Detroit and Chicago and New York and Philly. We come with our dish and that there and that, John, and you have to be that, you know, anyway. And we speak our language and our Creole using his vocabulary, but we're using our African structure. We use his vocabulary, but we use our African structure and design, our African grammar, to express what we mean. And the degree to which we deny that and call it bad English and we don't know how to talk and all kind of foolishness, the degree to which we've been taught to deny that is the degree to which we are suppressing the very essence of our ancestral being here in the United States. And so I learned to just be free. I remember once the magazine interviewed me from England, and I said, but you can't change my grammar. And they sent me a copy, and I found it somewhere the other day. I didn't recognize anything I was saying because I'm hearing English one way, and I'm speaking it another way, but I never really hear me speak because I have to translate it constantly to mean what they mean.
Yeah.
But when I saw it written in the magazine, I realized, oh my God, I'm not speaking their language at all, even though it sounds like it. We're in their world, but we're not of their world.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what looking in that mirror will let you know.
Yes.
When you look in that mirror and start examining yourself and start forgiving yourself and taking the best of yourself to reconstruct yourself, then you're the master of your destiny.
Yeah. 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 You should be talking to that mirror. I'll be talking to that mirror all the time. Okay, everyone, please like and share and comment on this video. All right. Listen, I already have some diamond earrings. I have a gold necklace. I even got a gold bracelet because Professor Small has been dropping the jewels tonight. Oh my God. You started off with restoration of our consciousness. I was like, okay, it's a little, you know, you've been getting it in all night. Please, you guys, like and share this video. I want to thank everybody who's given us Cash App love. Thank you so much. This is how we get our work done and how we get this message out. And this is so key because, you know, a lot of times we talk about it all the time about just talking. You know, it's so easy for us just to, you know, chat, hey, you know, pontificate about stuff. But Professor Small is giving us some specific things to do. This is how we get to community. This is how we get to unity. This is how we get to love. It's first starting to know who you are and loving the person that is looking back at you in that mirror. You know, that's the beginning. We can't even skip to the last part. We can't talk about, you know, supporting Black businesses and this and that if we're not even supporting and loving ourselves first. So important.
And remember the basics, Felicia. A lot of times people get off the basics. No matter where we live in the world, we have to guarantee and ensure food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security, no matter where we are in the world. In order to do that, in order to ensure food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for yourself and your family, you must control the economic, politics, culture where you live. In order to create a community, you must consolidate neighborhoods. In order to create neighborhoods, you must consolidate families. In order to consolidate families, you must create your personal character so that you can find worthy elements to build the family, which become the foundation of the neighborhood that you create the community out of. Then you have produced the Black nation again.
Yes, the Black nation. And guys, listen, you know, Professor Small goes into more detail about this in the HAPI movie. The documentary, and it's actually one of the favorite. He says one of the favorite words, my favorite quotes. It's not even a quote. I don't know. I just love when he talks about what he's talking about right now. And he's like, how do we handle this? Like, that is like classic. That is like my favorite line from the HAPI movie is that right there. But if you guys have not seen HAPI, go to hapifilm.com and pick up your copy or stream it. If you're going to be in Philly, we're going to be in Philly October 30th at 6:30 at the Venice Island Performing Arts Center. So, go to HAPI Film. You just go to HAPI Film, you get everything. Okay, you get all the links for all the other places we're going to be going to, which is Atlanta, Houston, and Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Washington, D.C. So, make sure you pick up your tickets for that. But make sure you are liking and sharing this video. We got to get the likes up, guys. And share the video with other people. This is, this is part of the movement in terms of, sharing what you're learning and teaching the youth the truth. And it's not even just teaching kids the truth, but teaching other people who may not know, and this is a way, they watch this video. Listen, I don't know anybody that won't be inspired by watching and hearing what Professor Small is talking about, because like I said, you're really laying some new stuff. When you were under that little anesthesia, you must have was thinking and working on some new stuff.
Well, it's really the same old stuff, because the laws of nature don't change.
Yeah.
The laws of the cosmos does not change. We learn a little bit more about how to express it each time. You see, HAPI is a pathway. It's becoming a pathway. We should be able to see, once we study HAPI, once we study history as HAPI instructs us, we will be able to see Malcolm X differently. We'll be able to see Dr. King differently. We'll be able to see Fannie Lou Hamer differently. We'll be able to see Sojourner Truth differently. They aren't just some image out of history. These are brothers and sisters who had learned the truth about who they were. Yeah. And they gave their lives to make sure that you would learn the truth about who you are, so that you can be in the universe what you needed to be. And the one thing they showed us, was Malcolm said, and Dr. King demonstrated, Harriet demonstrated, Fannie Lou demonstrated, Sojourner Truth demonstrated, that the secret to life is to have no fear. They let the white man know, yes, I'm in your world. But like Minister Farrakhan said, but I'm not of it.
Yes,
yes. We can be clear on that.
Yes, and our world is so much better. And guys, listen, if you want to give Professor Small some HAPI love, right there, this is Cash App, $ Dr. James Small, and because listen, and like I saw some people in the chat talking about, I want to go to Africa. We're going to Africa, and Professor Small is coming with us, along with his good buddy, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and his wife, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Wade Nobles, and his wife, Dr. Vera Nobles, Dr. Solange Ashby, Asar Imhotep, Mfudishi Juhuti Mez, Dr. Baina Bello is in the house. Like, oh my God. Libby, you and her, she was on here. She talked a couple of weeks ago about the Maroons, and she said he gave her a rendition of The White Man's Mystery, and I just started smiling as she's talking, and I was like, Dr. Bello, I'm sorry, I just have to stop you, because Professor Small always talks about The White Man's Mystery, knowing your history. Sometimes you add some little jazz in there, you do a little something, different. Yeah. But all of these people, family, are going to be at the One Africa Returning to the Source conference and study tour.
And I spoke with Dr. Bello today. She's so looking forward to that.
You know what? She is. She was so excited. And I was so excited that she was excited, because, we're always nervous. Like when we have to, ask one of you guys to do something, we're like, oh, I don't know. Can you kind of like come to Africa with us in the middle of sort of like the COVID pandemic? Sometimes it's a little intimidating, but she was like, yes. Before I could even like give her any details, she's like, I'm there. So I really, it's going to be, listen, that's what I'm telling everyone in the chat. If these elders can get to Africa, okay, and share their knowledge with us, we need to be there with ears, with pad of paper and pencil, and listening and just taking this in, because they're not going to always be there with us. And it's like what Taki says, we want to give Heartbeat props right now. That's super duper important. And someone's asking about the dates right there. It's February 20th through the 28th. It's of next year. It's going to be fabulous. As of now, you do not need to take the vaccine shot. You do have to have a negative PRC test before you come back to America or wherever you're going, from there. But yes, ICATtours.com. Check out the itinerary, and there you go. There's Dr. James Small.
Yeah, let me show you what love is. And before I call her name, I'm going to read this, right? Hello, my brother. You look well on HAPI. I wish I could save your message. Leon, who is a mutual friend of us, told me once that at times the universe share new information around the world. I am that I am. Be blessed on your day. And that's my birthday, which is Friday. We always call each other on our birthday, and we are 76 now, but we dated when we were 16 years old. So that's love. That's my sister, Myrna Wilburn. Yeah, I'm going to call your name right out there, girl. That's my closest and eldest friend and the most beloved friend, that I just don't know anybody who's been my friend other than my siblings longer than this beautiful lady. And I'm so happy she's watching. Happy girl, I'm on it. I'm on it. But imagine that I don't think we've missed a year not greeting each other on our birthdays in almost 60 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And she's an awesome lady. We've done political work together. She knows the history of Harlem probably much better than I do. Just come from one of those strong Southern families. And so I'm just so happy to see you. You don't have no idea. I'm glad you can see. I tried calling you a couple of weeks ago when I was in so much pain. I go like, please pick up this phone because I was hurting. Oh, my beautiful sister, Myrna. It's good to hear from you.
What's up, Myrna? That's what's up. With the little happy talks. That's what's up, Myrna.
I was trying for years to get her to come to Africa. Girl, you got to think about coming this year and just hanging out with us in February.
And and also, I'm so sorry. I just get so happy every time I sit here talking to you, Professor Small. Also, that's coming to the tour is Anthony Browder, of course, and Dr. Abanga. And Dr. Abanga is also one of the presenters.
Oh, is Theo gonna be there?
Yes. Oh, okay, wait. So look, we're gonna run it down again. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I get everybody's names. Thank you, Taki, for giving me some help here in the chat. So we got Professor Small, Dr. Leonard, Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Dr. Vera and Dr. Wade Nobles, Dr. Solange Ashby, Infudishi Juhutimis, Asar Imhotep, Dr. Baina Bello, Dr. Obanga will be there, Theophil Obanga, and Anthony Browder. That right there. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in. So if you guys can, make it happen, you want to be part of this tour right there. You can go to ICAT Tours and get more information. And we got all types of payment plans. $300 down for your deposit, and do whatever type of work, full moon work, whatever work you got to do to make it happen. Have your payment in by January 18th, and you will be, in the house in Egypt. It's going to be nice, very nice conference.
Right, and like she said earlier on, in 87? 87.
Yeah,
when you took the ASCAC conference, I was president of ASCAC Eastern Region at the time, and our national leader was Dr. Jacob Carruthers out of Chicago, and our national elder was Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark, and our administrative leader was, of course, Dr. Leonard Jeffries. Nothing happened without Dr. Leonard Jeffries, okay? And we took 1,000 Black people back to Africa. What was significant, we took them to Kemet, but what was most significant, that was the largest deliberate return of African people on any one occasion since the first slave ship, okay? And that made it powerful, spiritually powerful. And many of the people who are on this trip was on that trip. Dr. Nobles was there, Sister Vera was there, Dr. Jeffries was there, Sister Rosalind was there. I don't think Theophile was there. I was there. Dr. Asa Hilliard was there.
Wow.
Dr. Jacob Carruthers was there. Dr. Ben was there. Dr. Milana Karanga was there. It was like, so this is the last, we are the last of that grouping, the group that's going to be there. Many of our other brothers and sisters have gone on to the realm of the ancestors. And so this has been a long journey, you know, like me and Myrna can tell you going back to when we were trying to get Adam Powell reelected, walking in the snow, taking signatures, you know, how far back that was, fighting for these political things when we were young, you know, trying to make sense of a world that we were in, you know. Politically, the civil rights movement was at its height at the time. Dr. King was still alive. We had just, was Malcolm still? Malcolm was still alive when we first met. Malcolm would die after I went into the war. So this is a special time because so much knowledge have emerged in the last 20, 30 years. And with all the new technology and the way of distributing knowledge, it's just been extraordinary in the last 20, 30 years. So this is an opportunity, if you can make this conference, to come to this conference, to bring your mate and your companion to this conference. And then you realize this is not just about a trip. It's not about a tourism junket, you know? Yeah. This is about stepping back in time, while at the same time, when your foot touched the ground of the past, it also touched the ground of the future. Because that's what happens. And just think of it, right? We are living in the present, in the now, the past, the present, and the future. We say those things, but we never think of what they mean, right? In the present, we are aspiring for this thing called the future. In order to build for this thing called the future, we must create in the present based on the knowledge from the past. But the minute we take the step in the future, it immediately becomes the past again for the present to be built upon based on the aspirations called the future. In short, the past, present, and future is the same place, just at different times.
It's at different times.
Wow. They're the same space.
The same space.
Everything I just said a second ago is the past. The place I'm in now speaking is the present. But every aspiration that's going to bring forth the next thing in the present is the future. And the minute that's done, it's the past again.
It's the past again. Yes, yes. Yes.
You are your ancestors. We may think we buried their bones, but you didn't bury their spirits. You didn't bury their soul. And you didn't bury their memories that's embedded in your DNA, both genetically and intellectually when they were raising you. And when you understand that, that's the sacred science. You go, oh, wow. Myrna and Cora ain't dead. And Cora is us.
Yes. Yes.
Man was a goddess that raised my beautiful sister and helped to raise me to manhood in many ways. So all of the knowledge she gave us sitting around that kitchen table on Sunday, all of that knowledge made up the very genetic structure that we became as adults. So Cora, you and us, and Cora, we are you living on in time.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yes.
When we get it, then it becomes easy. Because our times will come and we will shed the shell, the temple called the bodies. But the we will not go anywhere because the we have always been here.
Yes.
You know.
Wow.
And every word I say tonight is going to impact somebody and everybody differently. And it's going to impact the very DNA and molecules that make you up.
Yeah.
For eternity.
Yeah. And you never know when it's going to tap into something, into a memory that you don't, that you have, that's been buried in your DNA. You just know, you don't know how things, just know how things happen. That's why you have to be open. That's what's up.
That's why we come back to loving Black people. When you know yourself, which comes once you know yourself, you learn to love yourself. And when you love yourself, you can comfortably love someone else. And you will recognize in them that love for themselves. Because as much as we search for God outside, all of us, as we get older, realize we were searching for something that was already inside of us from the day we were born. And we had to learn to recognize it. And the search that the ancestors gave us in terms of the many holy books and information was to build us up character-wise so we can see the God in me. And the God in me can see the God in you. And then that becomes true freedom. Remember, I said freedom is being what? Bound to your identity.
Shackled to your
identity.
Yes.
That's
I be listening.
You be listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I listen. I write down. Yeah, but it's like, I listen and I write it down, and then it's the practice of it. That's when it gets a little, you like, okay, it's because it's so easy to like work on yourself when it's just you by yourself. But once you have to go into the world and engage, that's when you really know what you know. And it's something. I saw a couple things in the chat I just want to just address. So someone asked about who is our travel agent. So let me just give you a little story real quick. So Taki Grant, who actually wrote and directed the film HAPI. This is his third feature film that he's done. And he was able to have the privilege to, bring HAPI to fruition because of Professor Small, Dr. Leonard Jeffries, and Mfudishi. Those are his, his teachers. They gave him the, not only like the strength, but the okay as elders to, for him to take on this endeavor. About 20 years ago, he's been he created Aket Tours. So 20 years ago, he's been taking Black folks to Egypt. 20 years ago. Okay, let that sink in. 20 years. All right. So when we talk about travel agent, we're using Taki Grant, who did HAPI, but he also has this Aket Tours that he's been doing this forever. 20 years taking Black folks to Egypt. So you are in good hands. Trust me. It's going to be gobs of us there, which is going to be great, because it's also when we're talking about sitting, with these elders in the cradle of civilization, it's also this collective thought that will be happening, that it's already happening. Everyone that's going on this trip, it's like it's already starting to take shape, like in my mind, and I know in others' minds, of us being on this one, I can't even think of the word, but just this one accord, so that's who we're going to be, traveling with is Taki's group. So rest assured, everything's going to be cool. The Aket Tour, someone said that the website is not working. So let me make sure, I'm going to put up the website just by itself to make sure you're using the correct one right there, akettours.com. It should be working. It's up. If you want to go, make sure you put down your deposit. And I'm just going to give a little people one more time, and then we're going to close out, Professor, because, you've been doing good. I tell you, you just look, I know that you're in a lot of pain, but you look so much better now that you have the surgery behind you. Like you look, I mean, you just look, better. I don't know. You're looking good. I don't know.
I feel better. And then something else, because I had to do the surgery, I quit smoking cigarettes. It's been almost 100+ days. And that's been a major
Yes.
conquest. And that's a big help. You don't even realize how poisonous it was until because the doctor says, I'm not going to do that surgery as long as you smoke a cigarette. So I had to put the surgery off and go through 3 months of quitting and be cleared. And he tested me. I mean, I had to go and have nicotine blood tests to make sure my blood was clean. And now that I'm going into nearly 100 days now, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking good. So One Africa, returning to the Source conference and study tour. We are working alongside Anthony Browder. He is one of the sponsors of this conference. So he will be there. We have Dr. Leonard and Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, Professor James Small, Dr. Wade and Vera Nobles, Dr. Solange Ashby, Ifudushi Juhuti Miss, Asar Imhotep, Dr. Bayina Bello, Dr. Obanga, and that's it. That's a lot. It is going to be fabulous. Oh my God, I'm gonna need like 2 or 3 weeks to just recover from after coming back from that. It's going to be really, really fabulous. Okay, thank you, Professor Small.
No, thank you. Good to be back. For a while I was like, I wasn't even talking to people. I go like, I can't talk. I'm hurting so much. In a few minutes, I got to run downstairs and get some painkillers. But HAPI is special, and Taki Grant is an extraordinary, special young man. And he was not only taking the tours to Kemet, but to Sudan, where few of us had ever gone.
Yes.
Going deep into Sudan. And Anthony Browder, what he has done, first of all, he's the first African American to be doing a dig, archaeological dig in Kemet. And they've already, I think, into the 3rd temple. And one of the great discoveries was that they discovered a Nubian temple in Kemet, but not on the timeline that the whole world has been given dealing with the 25th dynasty. And even with that timeline, this pyramid that Tony and them have found should have been in Sudan, but it's not in Sudan. It's there. And a lot of the artifacts that they found is in the museum in Luxor. And one of the things that they're moving to do is to buy a facility, the ASA project, to buy their own facility in Luxor, I think, Egypt, where they will display the different artifacts and finds that they're digging and the different digs that they're doing. So there's an extraordinary phenomena that I'm sure Dr. Ben is proud, Dr. Jacob Carruthers, Dr. Asa Hilliard, so many who've gone before who brought us to Kemet, and Tony was very close to all of them. He was part of the craft with Dr. Ben. A lot of people don't know that. He wasn't just someone that knew Dr. Ben. We traveled. We were traveling men together. For those of you who are traveling men, you understand what I mean. So it's a big work, and it's an extraordinary phenomena to have Anthony Browder team up with Taki Grant and to pull together under the guidance of especially our elder Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Sister Rosalind Jeffries, who is the elder with going back to Africa, because Dr. Jeffries has been going forever, but it was Sister Rosalind Jeffries that introduced Dr. Leonard Jeffries to Africa.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because he always makes a point. He says she went 1 year before me. Yeah.
So those are my teachers, my comrades and friends, me, Dr. Nobles, Dr. Jeffries, Dr. Obanga. We've been together, some of us, for 50 years, working together.
This is going to be
50 years, 40 years, 35 years. So me and Tony, we go back nearly 40 years. Banga, 35, 40 years. Dr. Nobles, Dr. Jeffries, 50 plus years. I knew Dr. Jeffries before I was married.
Wow.
So and we watch each other grow as we struggle to learn this information and do this work. And so coming together on many occasions over the years at different conferences have been phenomenal. But I think this is going to be a very special occasion, especially in that we lost one of our great princes, Runoko Rashidi, who's a part of the HAPI family and who made his transition while he was in Kemet this past summer. This will be a tribute and an honor to Runoko as well, who was very close and very supportive of the ASA project with Dr. Browder, and was a teacher and a friend and a comrade to all of the rest of us. You know? So Runoko, we're going to come and hang out with your spirit. We're going to dance around the tune. And let me just tell you a story, because a lot of people don't know this story. You know, when Dr. Hilliard passed, I was in Ghana working on a Hotel de Sana Lodge, and I couldn't go to the ASCAC conference, but Dr. Jeffries, who was with me, he left and he went, and I'd spoken to Asa a couple of weeks before when he was in Ghana, and we were together about a month before that in Kansas City. So I couldn't get to Ghana when Asa passed. So when I came through, I made a deliberate flight through Egypt on my way home about a month later. And I met some friends, actually a Ghana intelligence officer who had been tailing me. And we decided, listen, we're going to make this work. Let's just become buddies here instead of spying from this table. And then we met some young people who was on their way to school, college in Moscow. And we had a long stay in Cairo. So we got these cab drivers who somehow went to some alleyway back store and found 2 6-pack of Heineken beer, and took us to a village behind the pyramids where we rented horses. This is 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. We rented these horses and camels, and we went up on the sand dunes overlooking the pyramid and poured libation to Asa Hilliard with the 2 packs of Heineken. So Asa, I didn't forget you. I did come and I did pour the libation. It was almost a month later, in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. in the morning, actually, to be exact.
Wow.
Young Ghanaian people.
Wow, that's what's up. Yeah, I had Anthony's, if you want to read more about his dig, you know, and the Asa Hilliard Restoration Foundation, I'll put that back up. You can check out IKG Cultural Resource Center. That's Anthony's site right there. Yeah, there you go. All right, Professor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
You know, for hanging out with us.
Seeing you again.
Yeah, it's just your sight for sore eyes. Nice seeing you.
Okay. Peace and blessings to everyone in the HAPI family. And I'm back.
Yay!
Okay, peace and blessings.
All right, peace and blessings. Okay, fam. There you go. If you you know, make sure you like and share and comment on this video. It is so important. If you are with us, which I see everyone up in here has stayed, make sure that you share this video with somebody. Everyone needs to hear this message. I see Lori. Shout out to Lori Johnson, a straight up supporter. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Danielle, Shirley, Kalia, and Akachi, you know, and please forgive me for, you know, I'm sorry. Oh my, look at that. I can see vowels now. Love Afro, Marcus, Jojo, Tashi. I tell you, y'all don't know what y'all missing. Make sure you follow Tashi Smart on her Facebook page, because she has a lot of really always good positive stuff on her page. Very cool, sister. So make sure, Pseudo Charlatans, what's up? Jacqueline, DM, of course, Nafisa. You know, thank you guys for your support so much. if you need any information about anything, please go to hapifilm.com, and that way you can get you can find out about our tour. We are in Philly on October 30th, and then we are off to Connecticut, Bridgeport. No, I'm sorry. Then it's DC. Then it's okay, let me just get the dates right. So we are in Philly on the 30th of October. Then 12/5, we will be in Washington, D.C. 12/11, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia. And then 12/18, we will be in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And then at the beginning of the year, we will be in Houston, Texas. So make sure you just stay, look at hapifilm.com and sign up for the newsletter. So that way you always know what's going on in terms of like our tour and, just where we're going to be and all that good stuff. Any questions, make sure you contact us on Happy Film, or you can go to ACAT Tours to get more information about the tour. And I also want to, I see Asar Imhotep in the chat. Peace to you, Asar. Becky was hanging out with us in Detroit. Love and peace to you. Deborah Smith, thank you. So, other than that, I will, I can't even say my peace and blessings because Professor Small said it. So now I got to think about something else to say. I always take his thing. But what I will say is, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart, from HAPI. Thank you guys for your support. Make sure that we are continuing to spread HAPI love everywhere. And until next time, peace.
I don't know what we can talk about in this nation without talking about white superiority. Honestly,
Who defines the meaning of God also defines the relationship between economy and God.
African Americans spent $1.3 trillion last year, making us the 16th wealthiest nation in the world. Why have we not turned those riches into wealth to develop our community?